It's time to do some electrical. I'm going to do some spray foaming in the next couple of days. Power is pretty straightforward. You drill some holes, you run some wire, and then you get someone who knows what the heck they're doing to come and make sure you didn't do it wrong. At least that's how it is with me.
We keep on telling lies. That is how we stay alive. So you know that I don't mind about what is wrong and what is right. We keep moving in different rhythms. Still I know what you feel. We keep moving in different rhythms. Two different minds telling lies. That's how we stay alive. At least we try to survive. We're not the ones who hide. Two different minds. Oh, oh, oh. Two different minds. We're not the ones who hide. Two different minds.
You know just what to say to make it all okay. 'Cause I am too blind to see when you're in front of me. We keep moving in different rhythms.
This is the general kind of wire that you will find in your house or your cabin or wherever you are. This is a 14-2. 14-2 can carry, in my case, up to 12 things. So one line or one circuit. So just imagine this going to the box in your house or wherever your power is coming into your house. One circuit, 12 outlets or 12 lights or 12 whatevers. That's pretty much it. So 12 of these or 12 of these. This is the max. I'm not going to do that many. Especially, it really depends on your application. So if you had 12 air conditioners on one circuit, all plugged in at the same time, you'd probably overheat the wire and cause a fire because it would just be pulling, and there'd be a failure. The long and the short of it is, if you're not an electrician, find an electrician to do this sort of thing for you, or to certainly inspect what you're going to do. So this is what I'm going to be using mostly. Mice, I left this in the shed. They started to chew through the outward sheathing. So this is junk. I'm not going to try and use this. I'm not even going to try and tape over this. The wire's cheap enough that it's just not worth it to me. So that's garbage. So I'm going to be using 14-2 for the most part. And then I'm going to have one extra circuit or one extra line of 12-2. And that is for the air conditioner, because there will be an air conditioner running off a generator infrequently. But I still want it there, because once you've put the drywall up, you don't want to be tearing your walls out to put extra line in later. I actually don't need any of these boxes because the LED lights that I'm using come with their own box. You're going to want a tester of some kind when you start putting the outlets in. In my case, I'm trying to make them as small as possible. I couldn't find the ones that were a little more shallow because there aren't a lot of wires going in here. This will be fine. Obviously drill bits. I originally started off with steel for the light switches, and then I thought it would be better to actually switch to plastic. The rationale being, I want to avoid as much condensation as possible, and given that this is a 2x4 construction, there's not a whole lot of space behind these, so make them plastic. These are great because they ground themselves, because they're all ground, and then of course you go to the ground wire. The plastic has a strip in it to ground everything out, so it's safe. It's not as strong. Oh, there you go. This is for joining outside. Eventually I'll need to be grounding everything into the ground, and because we're using helical screw piles for a foundation, I hope I can just strip off the paint and put this on as a ground. You're gonna want a lot of screws, don't need that. You eventually need some kind of face plates. Here's an example of a narrow box. This is great for an outlet, but when it comes to switches, this is what I wanted, but I couldn't find enough of them, unfortunately. Still on the hunt. Again, we're in the middle of the COVID situation, so everybody's home doing work, so all of the supplies that you would usually want are gone. Two different kinds of wire strippers. I've never used these before. This will be interesting. I think I'm supposed to, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that piece. Anyway, I've used these a lot. These are great. They tell you the number. So in the case of doing 14.2, I just find 14 on here and it strips it. In the case of 12, and you find 12 and away you go. I have a power tester in my toolkit somewhere that I'll use later. Usually 1 inch for holes. I have 7/8 here, which is close enough. And these are the scraps that I'm repurposing from the previous cabin that was here. I'll use these scraps to run outlet to outlet because every run has to have some kind of junction box. Every time a line ends, a wire ends, it has to be in a container of some kind for fire purposes. You may have heard of people hiding junction boxes behind things. They put a box here and they have wires running through and then they cover it with drywall. Obviously not safe, not best practice. Don't do that. So the gas appliance guy was just here, and I'm happy to report that there's really no major problem. There's no problem whatsoever, actually, with having an outlet near the gas inlet. So the plan now is to bring rigid iron pipe, it's a black stuff if you've ever seen it, through the wall, over, and there'll be a connector right here to join up to the gas inlet. The only thing we had to consider is that from this outlet, which is also an inlet, cold air return, from here you have to be 3 feet away from your regulator. Where I am, that's the code. Which meant I had to be at least 3 feet that way or 3 feet this way, with the tanks that have the regulator over top. So that was a little finicky, just because where the deck is on the back, I want to put other things, but you do what you can, and the tanks should be okay where they are. Anyway, it's good news overall. So now I can start cutting these and making them actual outlets. I don't have to worry about moving everything. That's a good day, because that would be a little bit of work. That would be annoying.
That's how we stay alive.
It's a crazy day. Thunderstorms, crazy amount of water. Good thing we're on the inside now. So the wiring is 98% complete. Where those X's are, I'm going to be putting more metal guards, whatever they're called. It's a little tedious, but I can't find the product anywhere. Everybody's sold out of everything, but I'll keep looking. And that should be great for any kind of, if I'm putting shelves in the future, if I'm putting it, not drywall, I'm thinking the long screws that you'd use for mounting it. No, you're not going to mount a TV down there, but I might put a cabinet up or something like that. So that's why you want to protect your walls, specifically the electrical in the walls. It's a couple of oddities, really one oddity. with this cabin is that most of the switches, or rather all of the switches, are here, here, and there's a three-way that connects to that three-way. But this is a header. These are all headers on this wall. This is temporary. This is all coming out. But they are all headers up this wall, 15, 16 feet, which means every wire has to be run backwards around the house, around the cabin. Here's an example. I want to put lights in here, or if I want to put lights in, actually the lights up there are okay. I was able to run that string of lights down the side. But this one, there's nowhere to run the lights because that's going to be a ladder. That's basically the finished edge or close to it. So that means taking this and running it all the way down, and down, and then down, and then back, and all the way around. So that's a good 40 feet-ish of wire. Now I want a switch for the outhouse lights. You're gonna run all the way around again, all the way around again, and then all the way out. It's just, I mean, wire's not terribly expensive, but it caught me off guard not having two walls to run wires through. Meant just rethinking the strategy just a little bit. And then upstairs, just a couple of outlets, nothing particularly interesting. Outlet here, outlet there. So here's one of my mistakes. You'll see in the far corner there, wired up the outdoor porch lights coming down. When we designed the cabin, for some reason, I thought the slider door opened on the left. So if I was inside looking out, I thought the sliding would be opening on this side, but it doesn't. So where I thought we were going to put all the switches over there, we're actually forced to put all the switches over here, which throws everything off, which meant that I didn't leave nearly enough wire for that set of lights. So I brought that down, and you can't see it, but there's an outlet box in the bottom. And the rule as I understand it, again, I'm not a pro, but the rule as I understand it is the end of every wire has to end in a box that's accessible. So even though it's an outlet box, I was able to join that wire to a longer piece to get me to the switch inside the outlet box. But it might be a bit small. The outlet box might be a bit small. So we'll see. We'll see. What else? Put an outlet up there for a TV. This will be a dead space. This little temporary platform won't be here. So the TV be up there. It's pretty much the only area I could think of that was out of the way. Put a video game console underneath it for the boys.